Do you ever wake up, roll out of bed a little bit later than you probably should, go make yourself a cup of coffee that's gonna fuel the rest of your day, and then run over to your desk to log in and get started? You start working for what feels like a while until you look over at the clock and see that it's only 9:34 a.m. Then you say under your breath, I can't wait to retire. Hopefully that's a slightly dramatic version, because if you're actually going through that, I'm sorry. But I'm sure we can all relate to thinking about retirement at some point, whether it's in an I hate my job moment or just because we're picturing our future and wondering where we'll be. But retirement isn't some magical destination that we're just gonna stumble across and then get to stick around. There's actually a little bit of work that we have to do now in order to make sure that we get there. And when I say work, it doesn't actually have to be very hard. It just has to be done, and the earlier the better. But you've definitely heard us talk about the whole you need to be saving and investing your money for retirement thing before. So today, we actually want to take it back a step and talk about your full retirement picture. And the whole picture doesn't just include the money that you save. There's this entire other blurry portion that's going to be clear by the end of this video. But first, we do need to start with the basics. Okay, so usually when we talk about this topic, we focus on how retirement is an amount of money and not an age. So you have to be saving and investing for retirement. Now, a lot of the time people think that retirement's something that happens no matter what. You hit age 65 and then boom, you get to leave your job, your career, whatever it is that you have going on. The reality is that we still spend money in retirement, right? You still have your expenses for housing, like whether that's your rent, your mortgage, just property taxes. You still have your phone bill, maybe car expenses. You still buy groceries. All of the same expenses that you had on your last day of work, you still have those as soon as you stop working and you're now in retirement. Now, on top of having money for those usual expenses, you probably also want to have some additional money in case any emergencies come up. Now, that could be a healthcare related emergency, which is obviously a big area of concern when you're aging. It could be a home related expense or emergency, like your roof leaking, something like that. Basically just any type of emergency. And on top of that, a lot of people also picture having some sort of fun in retirement as well, whether that's vacations you want to take, a hobby you want to do, any type of fun. So that's money that you need for those three different areas: your day-to-day expenses, emergency expenses, and also for fun. Now, how do you usually pay for those three things when you have a job and income coming in every month? You use the money that you're making, or maybe you use money that you've already saved, but either way, you're topping that money up every time you get another paycheck. Now, when you're retired, you don't have income coming in, and you potentially won't have that ever again. So that means you need to have saved enough money so that you can spend some every month or every year to sustain yourself for the rest of your life. Now, I know I just said the word save a bunch of times, but I really mean invest instead, because you probably can't actually just save enough money throughout your working years for your retirement. Now, even if you only spend $35,000 a year and think that that's what you'll spend in retirement too, you still would have needed to have saved over $1 million in order to have that much money to spend every single year for a 30-year period. Now, it's pretty hard to save your way up to getting to over $1 million, and it also doesn't help you keep up with inflation either. So if you invest that money instead, you'll be able to hit that amount you want to get to, in this case $1 million, but actually contribute a lot less yourself. So you need to be investing your money now in order to be ready for retirement. But that isn't the full retirement plan picture.
So investing your money on your own for retirement is one part of being ready for retirement, but the other part is receiving from different government programs. Now, there's two major parts to Canada's government retirement income system, and that's the Canada Pension Plan and the Old Age Security. And there's also the Guaranteed Income Supplement that's a part of OAS. Now, Old Age Security is for anyone who's either a Canadian citizen or a legal resident of Canada when they apply at the age of 65 or older, and they must have lived in Canada for at least 10 years after turning the age of 18. The amount of financial return you get from this pension is based on how long you've lived in Canada, and the max amount is based on having lived here for 40 years. Now, the money itself is paid out from the general revenues of the government of Canada, so straight government funding for anyone who's lived here in Canada for a set amount of years and not based on how much you've made. There's also the Guaranteed Income Supplement, which is additional money on top of OAS, specifically for low-income retirees. And listen, in order to be eligible for this one, you have to already be receiving OAS. You have to be below the maximum income limits. So for this year, if you're single, it's $20,952. And if you're married, it's a little bit higher than that, but it also depends on whether your spouse is receiving the funding as well. The last program is the Canada Pension Plan, or CPP. Now, this is the main program that we want to dive deeper into today, because if you're someone who's paid by an employer, or even if you're self-employed, the letters CPP definitely look familiar to you. So the CPP was created all the way back in 1965 in Canada by the federal government. Now, at the time, retired Canadians were struggling with actually having enough finances to actually retire. So this is the solution that they came up with: creating a pension plan. Now, the goal of this pension plan was to cover 25% of a worker's average lifetime earnings, up to a certain limit. Now, to pay for this program, CPP is required to be paid into by any and all employed Canadians aged 18 plus. So if you have a job in Canada and you're 18 or older, then you have to contribute a portion of your income to the federal pension plan. Unless, of course, you're in Quebec, because they have their own pension plan, QPP. The idea is that you pay into this pension fund throughout all of your working years, and then when you retire, you get financial contributions paid back to you. So you're guaranteed to have some income in retirement. Like I just said, this isn't something that you can opt out of. It's actually mandatory to pay as you go. Now, how do you actually go about paying this money to CPP? Well, it works as a contribution from the money that you make at work. So when you get your paycheck, you'll see a deduction line right on there for CPP. Now, the rates can change every year, and we'll explain that in a second. But in 2023, you're taxed on CPP for a total of 5.95%, and then your employer also has to match that and pay 5.95% for a total of 11.9%. Now, if you're self-employed, you have to pay both taxes. So for a total of 11.9%.
Okay, so that's the rate that you pay as soon as you're 18 and employed, all the way until you retire. Now, in between you paying into the CPP and retiring in the future, something else happens with those financial contributions in between. Now, originally, when the CPP was created, the idea was to have people just pay into the fund and then receive payments back when they retire. But after a few decades, they realized that this wasn't a very sustainable model. Think about it like this. Younger people who are working right now are paying for currently retired people. Then when we're retired in the future, the new group of younger working people will pay for us. The problem is that there's not always a steady stream of people at all times. Because of the baby boomers, where there were way more people born in one era, there will be more people retiring than usual, which means that more money is needed. So to better account for this and manage finances sustainably in the long run, in 1997, after 32 years, CPP Investments was created as an individual professional investment organization. We're actually working with CPP Investments on this video, which is really exciting for us because it's an organization that's already a part of our lives as people who are over 18 and working in Canada. Now we're going to explain more about what they do with the CPP money while you're working, and then jump back into the contributions you receive from the CPP once you retire. So now the money deducted from your paycheck is taken and placed into a fund that's managed by CPP Investments. This organization then invests those contributions into financial assets like stocks and shares so that the overall pot grows. The goal is to increase the fund at a rate that's ideally higher than inflation so that millions of Canadians can retire and benefit from financial security later in life. Their goal is to earn the best possible investment returns without taking on any unnecessary risks. They're also focused on long-term returns because obviously this is a long-term investing portfolio with the goal of lasting for many decades. One thing I want to point out is that having a long-term investing strategy gives CPP Investments an advantage, because just like personally investing for the long term, you have the time to ride through any short-term volatility. They also diversify their portfolio in 4 different ways. One is asset diversification, so the portfolio is a mix of equities, fixed income, credit, real estate, and infrastructure. 2 is risk diversification, where they balance exposures to different return risk factors. The third is geographic diversification, so the portfolio is invested in a mix of developed and emerging markets, and also 4, strategic diversification, where they use several different investment perspectives. Now, since 1997, when CPP Investments was created, the fund has grown to over $500 billion, and the average annual return over the past 10 years specifically is sitting at 10%. Now, you can also see this chart on their website too that shows the projected plans to continue to grow the funds over the next several decades. And also keep in mind that this is at the same time that a growing number of Canadians are receiving benefits from the CPP. Something else that's important to know is that the financial sustainability of the CPP is really key. Now, like we said before, the goal of this program is to last a very long time, so in order to make sure that that's possible, every 3 years there's an independent review done on how sustainable the CPP will be over the next 75 years. So in 2019, they did a review to see if the CPP would be sustainable until 2094, and then in 2022 they did a review to see if the CPP would be sustainable until 2097. Now, the last review was in December, and again they did confirm that the CPP was sustainable for that timeline. Overall, CPP Investments is a huge reason why so many Canadians will benefit from the Canada Pension Plan when they retire. Now, our contributions are a big part of it, but the CPP Investments portion is what keeps the fund sustainable. If you want to hear more about how CPP Investments works and what they invest in, then check out the link below in our description box and also here on screen. And a big thank you to CPP Investments for working with us on this video.
Okay, so you start contributing to CPP when you turn 18 and get a job. The money's taken out of your paycheck and then put into the fund. And then CPP Investments grows the money. Now, the next thing you need to know is how you can get financial benefit from the fund for yourself when you retire. Okay, so the set retirement age for this program is age 65, but you can choose to start receiving financial contributions as early as age 60 and as late as age 70. Now, the standard benefits would be paid to you if you chose to start receiving at age 65. Now, if you went a bit earlier, you'd get slightly less per month, and if you went a bit later, you'd get slightly more per month. You have to apply to start CPP payments, and in order to actually qualify for taking out CPP, you have to be at least 1 month past your 59th birthday, you have to start CPP within 12 months, and you have to actually have contributed to CPP while working in Canada. So now the big question that you probably have is, how much money do I actually get from CPP? Well, that's a great question. Now, like I said before, the exact amount of financial return that you get from CPP is based on how long you contributed to CPP and the size of those contributions. Now, you can get the absolute maximum amount if you contributed for at least 40 or more years, and for 40 of those years, you contributed the absolute maximum amount. As of 2023, the current earning ceiling is $66,600, which means that if you earn that much or more, you would contribute individually $3,754, and of course, if you include the employer portion, it would be a total of $7,508. And of course, once again, if you're self-employed, you would contribute that total amount, so the $7,508. That's the maximum yearly contribution, which means that you would get the maximum amount back once you retire. If you hit the earning ceiling for 30 years and missed it for 10 years, your amount would be lower. Now, according to the Government of Canada's website, the maximum amount that you could get per year if you retire at age 65 is $1,306.57. Now, the average paid out, that's $811.21. So if you receive the maximum amount, you'd get $15,678 a year. On the other hand, if you receive the average amount, you'd get $9,734 a year. And when you get your benefits, keep in mind that it's taxable income. So let's say you don't earn an income anymore from work because you're retired, but you do get $10,000 from CPP per year. That means that you have $10,000 in income that's gonna be taxed. Also, if that amount sounds like a low amount to you per year, remember, the CPP was only designed to replace 25% of your earnings. Now, that amount is being changed to 33% over the next coming years, but either way, it's still 1/4 to 1/3 of the savings that you'll likely need in order to retire comfortably. That's when the full retirement plan picture comes back into play. The CPP helps you retire, but you need your own savings and investments too. So now you have the full retirement picture. If you want to learn more about CPP, how it works, and how CPP Investments grows your contributions as part of the fund, remember to check out the link for more information. And once again, thank you to CPP Investments for working with us on this video.